Hi, I'm Edie Raether, known as the Bully Buster. I'm an international keynote speaker, parenting coach, and best-selling author of several books, including Stop Bullying Now. I've also been a psychotherapist, a marriage and family counselor, college professor, and talk show host with ABC affiliates. I'm passionate about stopping bullying and violence. People often question me if it's getting worse. I will tell you right now, it is worse. There is more vicious intention. And with technology and cyberbullying, children have no reprieve. It's not like at 3 o'clock they can get away from it. Every time they pick up a cell phone, they are bombarded and bullied. And when they feel no sense of out or no kind of escape, what happens is the suicide rate with our children goes up, and it has to be stopped. I will tell you another issue that we're dealing with and why the problem is worse. That is that bullying and violence is becoming a norm with some of the media and video games that kids are playing. Violence and bullying actually becomes a fun addiction. Our brains start getting programmed to associate pleasure with violence. That has created a huge, huge problem. The other issue is that it's becoming a social norm. Before, bullies were kind of the exception. What we're finding now is that with the me generation, and these are children of the me generation, is that there is a new social norm and a lack of community and group and social consciousness. This is a huge challenge for our society. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're in it together. And if we don't stop pointing fingers at each other, and everyone needs to start taking some sense of ownership. And if you're not part of the problem, if you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. Now, with technology, cyberbullying is becoming a huge issue, not because, or not just because of the 24/7 kind of bombardment, but the fact is it's bringing in a whole new sectors of bullying. We see petite little girls now becoming very, very vicious. In fact, cyberbullying is the fastest growing type of bullying, and it is growing the fastest among upper middle class because they have more technology toys, and it is growing the fastest among girls. And what we are finding is that the mean girls syndrome does prove to be true, where girls can become more intentional, more vicious. The fact is that we are giving our children weapons without wisdom. The prefrontal lobe isn't even developed until kids are in their 20s. And at 7, 8, 10, 12, they have no consciousness of what consequences they may be dealing with in terms of the bullying they may be doing, especially if somebody commits suicide. So we all are responsible. The other issue is that our society is just plain stressed out. Our adrenals are burnt out. And we are all in a reactionary rather than a proactive mode. We're bouncing around from our reptilian brain instead of our cerebral cortex, where creative thinking and problem solving tends to be where we kind of look at things. So there's a lot of factors that are really feeding into this. The other issue is that we have been treating bullying as if one size fits all. Well, you know what? If there were a silver bullet and there were one solution, wouldn't that simplify our life? The fact is, it is not the right answer. We're looking for the right answer, but in the wrong place. I, in my book, describe 7 different types of bullies. I'm only going to share a few with you here, but I will tell you that one of the most frequent bullies is the bullied bully. We've got to realize that most bullies are first victims, and unfortunately, it often occurs and they learn it from their own parents. It happens in their own homes. And if we look at Columbine, I am totally convinced that Columbine could have been prevented because a bullied bully will benefit from treatment, from therapy, from counseling. Somebody needed to refer these people and that family for help, and I think there'd be 13 more people alive today. So we have to realize that bullies are first victims, and we need to treat them as well, which is exactly why exclusion of the bully does not solve a dang thing. They need to be included in the process. They need to be taught problem-solving skills, and they need to be healed. And by expelling them, it teaches them nothing. In fact, they're getting what they want. I mean, give me a break. Are you telling me that most bullies, when they get expelled from school, are sitting there worrying about, oh my gosh, I'm missing science class? We're giving them what they want. We're rewarding the bad behavior. Another bully is the social bully, and these are kids that really are not vicious, not mean. They're well-intended, but they're just, peer pressure. They're following the crowd. And the fact is that many of those social bullies are bullying simply because if they don't join the crowd, they're afraid they're going to be the next victim. Another one I want to share with you briefly here is what I call the bully by default, and it's the bystander. For every incident of bullying, 85% are bystanders. We need to give our kids permission and expectations that they start reporting incidents. And one of the things we can do is make it very convenient. I just spoke for the Las Vegas School District. It's actually Clark County. And interestingly enough, they have a website where there can be reporting, somewhat like 911. If you're not doing that in your school district, that's a tip that you need to put into action immediately. Because the bystanders are where we can start turning this challenge, this social issue of violence around. Now, there's one other thing that I'd like to share, and that is, when I was growing up, suicide wasn't even an option. It really wasn't. Today it is. Children are exposed to it, and now we have 6, 7, and 8-year-olds that are committing suicide. And if you don't think this is a problem, then we need to talk further. Because I was in a debate with a woman from the UK, and I am not putting her down, don't even remember her name, but she did write a book. She has a psychology background. She is very learned, and she believed, I think I won that debate, by the way, she professes that bullying is actually character building, and that what I am trying to do to prevent bullying is actually harming children. Well, I'm going to tell you, I have stories in my book where a young boy's head was put in a wastebasket and set on fire. Now, you tell me how this is a great system of character building. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I think we do need to build emotional and psychological resilience in our children, but I truly think Taekwondo and other systems of thinking are going to do a much better job than somebody's life being threatened. Which reminds me, I want to share with you one more type of bully, and it's what I call the new bully on the block. And this is the arrogant bully. This is the entitled bully. In the past, we always thought that most bullies were a result of low self-esteem, and they are often. But there is a new bully in the me narcissistic generation. As I said before, there is a new norm. And these bullies do it because they feel entitled. They have a right to harm others simply because they can. And I would tell you, a lot of them are very popular kids. They're very charming. They're often the jocks. And in 2 of the stories that I got out of a school in Colorado, and I'm not getting more specific, but it's a very dysfunctional system where and it happened, a jock was threatening another child's life, had already stabbed him with a pipe and did some serious damage to his leg. But he was pardoned, and you know why? Because he was a good wrestler. And the school was #1 in wrestling. And it was more important to that principal that the school get that trophy than it was to do the right thing. So we have to know that even teachers and school personnel can be very charmed by this new type of bully. The bottom line is we all have to take part in making a difference. We all have to own the problem. And one of the biggest problems is getting the parents engaged and involved. And that is because they are part of a generation that we gave to them without them having to learn the process of becoming and overcoming. Entitlement leads to arrogance. And in many cases, arrogance can lead to bullying and violence. Please join me in my campaign to make a difference. Thank you.